VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Alright, stop, collaborate and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance, crush a speaker that booms. I'm killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom. Deadly, when I play a dope melody. Anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it, you better gain weight. You better hit bullseye, the kid don't play. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Jumping, with the bass kicked in and the Vegas all pumping. Quick to the point, no faking. Cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. Burning them, if you ain't quick and nimble. I go crazy when I hear a cymbal and a hi-hat with a souped up tempo. I'm on a roll, it's time to go solo. Rolling, in my 5.0, with my rag top down so my hair can blow. The girl is on standby, waiting just to say hi. Did you stop? No, I just drove by, kept on pursuing to the next stop. I bust a left and I'm heading to the next block. The block was dead, yo, so I continued to A1A. Beachfront Avenue. Girls were hot, wearing less than bikinis. Rock men lovers, driving Lamborghinis. Jealous, cause I'm out getting mine. Shade with the gauge and vanilla with the 9. Ready for the chumps on the wall. The chumps acting ill because they're full of 8-ball. Gunshots ranged out like a bell. I grabbed my 9, all I heard was shells falling on the concrete real fast. Jumped in my car, slammed on the gas. Bumper to bumper, the avenue's packed. I'm trying to get away before the jack is jacked. Police on the scene, you know what I mean? They passed me up, could run it all the dope fiends. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. I'm a lyrical poet. Miami's on the scene, just in case you didn't know it. My town that created all the bass.
Having too much fun. Hi, good afternoon. How the devil are you? I'm going to keep this quite short because I just want to say some things. I want to get them off my very unwell chest. So, what have we got? Well, we've got kids in this country, all over the country, believing that they might be the opposite sex. And I did an interview with the Spectator yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. Maybe you did. Maybe you did not. But I was asked, like, what are we going to do about these hundreds of children? What are we going to do about these hundreds of children who believe they're the opposite sex? Like, what are you going to do? Oh, by the way, I know. How great is that? Copyright. This is also for you single white female characters out there. Just saying. So what are we going to do about them? And I actually think if you just say the word no and mean it and extract all this shit from public life and take it out of schools, I think this stuff will disappear quite rapidly, actually. And I shall tell you why. The reason it will disappear rapidly is because it's not true, right? I know that sounds really, really simple, but we all know he's a man. We all know he's a man, right? So it's not true. What you have to do is I hope you're all still there. I think you're all still there. Anyway, so how do we get rid of it? So we get rid of it by just saying the word no. We get rid of it out of all state-funded institutions. Now, how quickly could you get it out of all those institutions? Mate, you could do it overnight. You could do it overnight. We, as a country, right? Oh, I hope I'm back. As a country, I'm just going to see. So, yay. Okay. As a country, right? We shut down. We shut down the country. You weren't allowed to go anywhere without wearing a mask on your face. Now, some of us, we carried on going without masks on our faces, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of people were frightened. And the risk of that was sort of penalty. And all of a sudden, all the police weren't fucking busy. They could come and do stuff. Cancer patients could no longer see their doctors. We did this most remarkable thing. Why did we do it? Well, there's a lots of reasons, but the one thing we know is there was a political will to do it. We changed the whole country in a matter of moments. They all had a meeting. It was very, very important. It was considered a health crisis. Hey, you say, have we ever had one of those for porn, rape, sexual assault, child sexual abuse? No, we have not. How dare you suggest such a thing? But we did decide that there was this very dangerous thing. And it doesn't really matter whether I believe any of this, right? It doesn't matter whether I think COVID was the most terrible pandemic on earth, or whether I think COVID was a way of seeing if you could lock a population up, or whether it was both. Whatever the truth of it is, it doesn't really matter. The facts of the matter are the government of the day, like that, like quick as possible, with a little bit of a this. With a little bit of that, it got everybody to stay in their homes, to not visit their lonely elderly parents, to not go and see anybody, to leave their crying mother in a flipping nursing home where she didn't want to be, knowing she was going to die. People going to funerals sat miles apart from each other. So I don't see why, ladies and gentlemen, if the government of the day didn't decide that it was the end of the end of this gender nonsense, the end of this bullshit. Let's pretend that somebody is something they're not. I don't believe for a moment that it couldn't be stopped. Now, what would I do? Well, because I am an activist and a politician, do join the Party of Women, because we are the only party that really understands this issue. What I would suggest is that teachers, men and women, who go into school and pretend to be the sex that they're not, I think they have to stay home until they can return to school in a manner that is appropriate for the truth, right? So, I mean, frankly, I think teachers should start dressing professionally anyway, so they could all just have suits. Wear a trouser suit, and you can feel whatever you want in your head. No one needs to know. Now, I think these things can be done quite quickly. I think you could make sure no more flags in the NHS, no more money for diversity and inclusion. Quite frankly, if you have decent workers' rights, you don't actually need somebody paid sort of £90,000 a year for this shit. So just get rid of that. There are just so many. There's just so many things that you could instantly do. You get it out of the police force, all the chiefs of those police forces lose their jobs. It's not difficult, is it? None of this is particularly difficult. But so that's what I would do. That's how I would end it. People often say, "What would you do?" Well, I would just do that. I would say that this was more dangerous than a pandemic. That's what I would say. I would say that it is a pandemic of mental illness, and we would treat it as a health, sort of a health scandal emergency. The idea that getting rid of the GRA or leaving the European Court of Human Rights or ripping up the Equality Act, the idea that those things are difficult or long-winded or complex, they are not. We would just get rid of it. Anyway. But I want to talk about the people that made the lies real. And what I mean by that is the people that had some vested interest in peddling the lies and furthering them. So I would include in that somebody who had worked as a psychoanalyst or a psychiatrist and then set up a specific clinic for people who claimed the brand new thing of gender dysphoria because it was new. So these people, and if they're worth like even half a day's pay, surely those psychoanalysts, those psychiatrists, those psychologists would have heard what was going on with their patients in their private practice with a pretty penny, and they would have realized it was bullshit. The doctors referring patients on who listened to their patients and what their patients were saying about their motivations and what the fuck was going on with their mental kind of delusions, they would have heard what was going on and they would have known it was bullshit. Otherwise, they hadn't listened. Like if I let's say I make something up right now. So I'm going to make it up right now and I'm going to say that I feel if I remove this wonderful t-shirt, I mean, I'm just so clever. If I remove this t-shirt, my breasts are going to fall off. Right. Let's say I think that. And I'm petrified. I'm absolutely petrified. And I manage to convince about 20 of you to buy one of my t-shirts. And then I tell you, there's a phenomenon happening everywhere that you can't remove this t-shirt, otherwise your breasts fall off. Do you think if I go to my doctor and I talk about that, they would refer me to some sort of breast falling off thing? Or if somebody had made some industry out of it? Because it's lies, right? That's the fundamental thing about all of it. It's lies. And so whatever they create around this, whatever safeguarding, whatever systems, whatever departments, these are just people looking after their own careers, right? That's essentially what it is. Because otherwise you would just say, this isn't right. This is a social contagion. Because you would have done your job. Or you would say, actually, and look, some therapists did. I'm not going to deny that at all. Like the Evans couple, they were the first on the scene say no to this. Then you had Dr. David Bell. But the rest of them, let me just say, the rest of them in the Tavistock, no matter what they tell you, they were not the original whistleblowers. They weren't. I think there was a man called Domenico who was the person that brought this in, and Penny Carmichael, she was one of the main people that pushed it. But there were many people working in the Tavistock who didn't speak up at that time, didn't raise the alarm, didn't blow the whistle, didn't talk to the Daily Mail, didn't expose it to the press. Instead, every single appointment where somebody was affirmed to have something called gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria or gender incongruence or gender distress, every single person that went along with that label and continued to propagate the idea that this was an actual thing, they are the people that made the lies real. That's all there is to it. Every single last one of them. How do you make a fictitious kind of social contagion? How do you make that real? You give it a label. You diagnose people with it. You give those people the label. You talk about those people as a group, as if a man who gets an erection wearing his wife's knickers is exactly the same as a girl who was sexually abused as a child, who then doesn't want her breasts to grow and feels really distressed about having breasts and puberty. You group those two people in together, and then you've got a larger cohort of people in that group. I'm just going to say it's not a mental illness. Now, I'm a layperson, so I might have this wrong. I'm quite happy to be corrected by somebody who knows better. But I thought a mental illness would be something that had some sort of genuine, diagnosable conditions that are beyond all my mates started doing it or a response. I don't understand how a response to trauma is given a label that groups that person in the same group as a man who doesn't want to be a homosexual and so fetishizes women and ends up as somebody wearing women's clothes. I just don't see how those things are the same thing. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that it doesn't feel like it's a real thing to group people together who are quite frankly so different. And so these sorts of things are created and legitimized by people working in medicine, psychiatry, psychoanalysts, who then decide that this is actually a thing and deserves its own focus. And I think if way back when people had said, this is not a label, this is just part of whatever, part of paraphilia, part of dissociative disorders, part of trauma responses, whatever it is, I think that is what would have stopped this from really taking hold in our society. But once you make it a thing, a bit like anorexia and bulimia kind of support groups that then just encouraged people, once you make it a thing, it has all the marks of a cult, and you actually will have contributed to that particular cult. So that's just what I want to say. I really don't. Yeah, you might not get the difference, Mr. Philbin, between fetish and mental illness, but there is a distinct difference, and I think it's quite right because fetish is a set of behaviors and mental illness is not quite that. Maybe it's semantics. I don't think it is. I think one is a forgivable thing that needs treating, and the other one is something that needs shaming and is really quite mad. Anorexia and bulimia are also symptoms of a mental illness. We know this, but they have like really clearly definable symptoms and behaviors. And what we do know is that they also can be a social contagion and encouraged. Anyway, it's very difficult. This whole thing is very difficult, but I think all of these men and women that make an industry and a whole team and a whole ward and a whole industry system out of something that, quite frankly, is not true, have paved the way for more and more people to be victimized by this. Because if your kid had come home with some social contagion and you couldn't take them to the doctors and they couldn't get given a label, then maybe we wouldn't have so much of this utter shit right the way through society. Okay, that's all I'm going to say today. If you can keep speaking the truth, I'm going to talk about men in the movement on Monday. So be prepared, because as a woman who does this full time, I can honestly tell you, Let Women Speak needs money to survive and to do the things that we do. And we do things better than anybody else, as far as I'm concerned. So if you want to go and get yourself a t-shirt, I'm not asking you for money. I'm just saying buy a t-shirt and then I'll spend your money that way. Thanks very much. If you can keep speaking the truth, even when all around you have pretty much given up, then I promise we will win. If you can just send me some healing vibes this weekend, that would be great. Then I promise we will win. If you come to Speaker's Corner, to Reformers Tree, where we go and talk right in the heart of Speaker's Corner, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.
Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I would swear I was falling. I could swear I was falling.